Housing has become incredibly expensive and scarce for young people looking to move out of home or enter a volatile market. As house prices in Sydney have made it the most expensive city in Australia to rent or buy, this has created a housing crisis. With 2/3 of young people believing the market is too expensive, there have ever been extensive calls for the government to take action. The 2022 election is underway, with many political parties putting forth different policies on a complete range of issues. One of the chief concerns of voters, especially young voters, is the housing crisis gripping many state capitals and skyrocketing the cost of living. For insight into some of the Greens' policies, we spoke with Philip Bradley, a Parramatta City Councillor and former TAFE teacher running as the Greens candidate in Parramatta.
Well, the Greens' response is to build 1 million homes. It might take a couple of decades, but we're going to try to build them as fast as possible. There's genuine hardship now for people who are renting and people who have mortgages as well. The latest statistics, about 42% were suffering financial stress because of the difficulties keeping up with the payments on their mortgage or their rental payments. We also need much better rights for renters.
While the Greens has drummed up some support for their policy building 10,000 new homes, many Liberal campaigners and supporters see this as an unfeasible and not a practical approach to the housing crisis. Many political commentators have said the same about the Liberals' approach to the problem, which if enacted would see people drawing on their own superannuation for a deposit.
So what the Liberals are doing is they're introducing a new scheme where you can actually draw up to $50,000 out of your super, put towards a deposit for a house.
This response by Liberals asking people to dip into their super is not new and was ridiculed by many for being an unrealistic and foolish policy. That just may be the thing to sink their campaign. Counter to both the Coalition and the Greens, Labor has set out its own plan for housing, which will see people entering a shared equity agreement in which the government will purchase 30 to 40% of their homes for people to buy back at a later time.
With the major parties having similar policies on defence, asylum seekers and most infrastructure projects, only a few key issues like housing, climate policy and education could be the deciding factors in seeing who wins the election. But for those in the toughest of spots, there won't be an immediate movement on housing policy soon. As new governments may even need to be formed, we may even see the policy adjustments in a post-election world. This has been Kojo Wallace from WSU Tonight.